Hello there folks, my name is Spooks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the story breaks down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did, so let's get started. Number 5 was We Live in Time, making $4.1 million this weekend, and since it was already released in limited release, it brings its domestic and worldwide total to $4.5 million. So this was a neat little surprise. I wasn't sure if this movie was gonna make enough to crack the top 5. I didn't see a big marketing push or a huge amount of buzz for this movie initially, but apparently I was living under a rock as this movie really seemed to overperform. We've been living in sort of a rom-com-assance, if you will. Some rom-coms have been doing very well, and it looks like this was able to capture a lot of people's attention, and people do seem to be enjoying it. I'm not sure how much they're enjoying it, as there wasn't a cinema score rating for this. It wasn't pulled for some reason, but still, the fact that this was only released in just a little over 900 theaters across the country, and it was able to make this much, as well as just entering the top 5 altogether, is rather damn impressive. I'm curious to see if we'll see any sort of legs for this movie, how much this movie can leg out, how far this movie will reach from this point forward. I've been seeing some positive things about this movie. People do seem to be enjoying it, but I'm curious to see if we'll see, like an Anyone But You level sort of comeback from this. I don't think we will, but I've been wrong before. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, this is still a really solid performance for We Live in Time. I'm curious to see if we'll see this become a sleeper hit for A24. But yeah, just the fact that this was able to crack the top 5 is really impressive. Number 4 was Beetlejuice, making $5 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $283 million and a worldwide total of $434 million. So Beetlejuice has officially done it. It has surpassed Dune Part 2 to become Warner Brothers' biggest movie of the year domestically. Worldwide, it is still far away from that movie, but still, it's still doing very well for itself. Once again, we are still slowly but surely approaching Halloween, and it's pretty much the big Halloween movie of the year for a lot of people, so the word of mouth has been going strong. Its legs have been even stronger because of that. I think, once again, it's still got some time before the spookiest time of the year. I think we will see this movie just barely get over the $300 million milestone domestically, at least, and I think we'll also see it get over $450 million worldwide. Again, it hasn't been crashing and burning internationally, but it's definitely not as big of a response internationally as it is domestically speaking. Yeah, just not much more else to say really here. Once again, it's got a couple more weeks left in it of itself. It's spooky month, but I think after that we will see this movie out at the top 5 and plummet. So let's hope that they can savor these few last good weeks for itself, as it's got a little bit amount of time. It's still got some time, but a little amount of time nonetheless. Otherwise, yeah, this movie's still doing very well. Not much more else to say here except job well done. Number 3 was, funny enough, Terrifier 3, making $9.3 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $36 million and a worldwide total of $39 million. So despite going from number 1 to number 3, the film actually wasn't hurt all that much this weekend. It only dropped 51%, which for a horror movie, especially this horror movie, is honestly really impressive. I was worried going into this weekend that this movie would suffer from, the competition of another big horror sequel coming out this weekend, and the fact that this movie specifically could have been a lot more front-loaded, all the die-hard Terrifier fans going to see the movie on its first weekend and then nobody else really the second weekend. But no, the movie was able to maintain its core audience. It was able to stand against the competition fairly well for itself. And, the word of mouth has just been going off for this movie. A lot of people have been talking about how vicious and violent and grotesque this movie has been. I think, once again, the curiosity factor is really helping this movie, add on to the fact that this is one of the most violent horror movies of the year, and it's spooky month right now. I also think is definitely benefiting. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about Art the Clown and how he's become a modern horror icon, one of the greats, believe it or not, to some people. And yeah, I also think that's just another factor. Just the character of Art the Clown is also really helping this movie. Just the nature and just the vibe of this movie has just all around helped it out. It definitely stood on its own for that reason and many more. Yeah, I'm curious to see where this movie will go from here. Again, like with Beetlejuice, it does have a deadline with Halloween being just a little over a week away, so I think after that we might see this movie plummeted after that. But otherwise, I still think that we're going to see some solid holds from this. Definitely one of the biggest surprises of the year in terms of like these smaller type of budgeted movies. With a $2 million budget, this movie's already a huge hit for itself, and they've already discussed how they're doing a fourth one. So this is not the end of Art the Clown or the Terrifier franchise, and the box office performance is reason for that, evidence for that as well. Yeah, just an all-around swell weekend for Terrifier 3. Number 2 was, for the third week in a row, The Wild Robot, making $10 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $101 million and a worldwide total of $196 million. The Wild Robot's still chugging along. Not only that, but also in the second place spot. Definitely doing a lot better than I think most people expected it to, as it is now the fourth biggest animated film of the year domestically. It was able to surpass, obviously, Transformers 1, but also the Garfield movie, which I don't think a lot of people were expecting. I think it's going to remain in fourth. I don't think it's going to reach Kung Fu Panda 4's domestic total, but this is still rather impressive for a movie that's based off of a book that not a lot of people were aware about, so much so that people think it's a wholly original movie. This is a very impressive run. It's just been doing gangbusters so much for so long, and the international numbers are definitely starting to pick up as well, as it has expanded into more countries, and it's doing very well in places like the UK and Ireland, so much so that not only has it surpassed the doubling point of its $78 million budget worldwide, but it's just $4 million away from getting to the $200 million milestone, which I'm sure will happen by the end of the day today. So yeah, The Wild Robot's still doing very well, and it still has another month until the next couple kids movies come out in Thanksgiving. That is absolutely insane, folks. So yeah, we're probably going to see this in the top 5 for another month because of that, due to lack of competition and just how excellent the word of mouth has been. Yeah, this has quickly become a sleeper hit for itself. Definitely a big win for DreamWorks for sure, and the medium of animation that this movie was able to accomplish such milestones, and I look forward to seeing it surpass even more milestones. I think we could even see this movie surpassing Migration's domestic totals, which, as if many of you remember from earlier this year, was another animated movie that really stuck out, had really strong legs, and I see no reason why this movie doesn't at the very least reach those heights. Yeah, The Wild Robot's still doing very well, very impressive, very strong run for this movie. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was Smile 2. Opening with $23 million this weekend domestically and $46 million worldwide. This is the 4th biggest opening for a horror movie this year, topping Terrifier 3, but still sitting behind Longlegs, Alien Romulus, and A Quiet Place Day 1. Now, even though I was expecting a bit more from this movie, especially with how some other franchise horror movies were able to get such big boosts in their sequels, obviously Quiet Place and Alien this year, this is still a really solid opening. Yes, it's just $1 million over the first Smile, but I think, still, for this movie alone, the fact that it has none of the original cast, it's following a bunch of new characters, and is taking pretty much a one-trick pony type of premise and trying to turn that into a franchise, Creepy Smiles. I think they really succeeded. I think one of the issues that held it back was just Terrifier 3's massive overperformance. I think that took the spotlight, and once again, a one-trick pony sort of thing. How can you take a premise like Creepy Smiling Faces and turn that into a horror franchise? But the walk-ups were really solid, and people were genuinely curious to see what they could do with this premise. And with a $28 million budget, it's already made most of its budget back domestically, and it's well over that worldwide, and I'm sure it's gonna get over the doubling point very soon, as well as the $50 million milestone worldwide as well. Just a really solid opening. Again, not as impressive as some of the other horror franchise movies we've gotten this year, but still, I wouldn't call this a disappointment. I wouldn't say this is bad in any way, shape, or form. It did really well, and the audience seems to be really digging it as well. It got a B Cinema Score rating, which is actually on par with Terrifier 3, and is also better than the first film's B- Cinema Score, which is rather impressive. Again, it seems like people really liking this movie and prefer it to the first one. Heard a lot of people saying this was actually a lot better than the first one, actually. So yeah, that could also be a beneficial factor. The one downside is, like with Beetlejuice and Terrifier 3, this movie does have a deadline. It's only got a limited amount of time before Halloween, as opposed to what the first film had to do, where that came out late September, so it had all of October to itself. Here we've got like maybe a couple more weeks until Halloween, so it's really gonna need to have the best legs right now, gonna make the most out of its limited time here, and stick out from the competition of Terrifier 3, as once again that movie really seemed to steal some of the thunder a bit. But yeah, as far as this opening goes, this is a good one. I'd say this is a good enough opening. Hopefully we can see the strong legs we saw with the first one here. But yeah, things seem to be off to a good start for Smile 2. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we have one new major wide release, that film being Venom: The Last Dance. This is the third and final film in the Venom trilogy, as it follows Eddie and Venom on the run from not only the government, but also some aliens from Venom's home who are also hunting him down. Now, the Venom films are a very special case with the Sony Spider-Man universe. That being, these are the only films in this franchise that people like. So, of course, I think this movie is going to do the best out of the most recent of these Sony Spider-Man villain movies. I think they've done a really good job marketing this film. They've actually done a lot of fun promos here. That it's definitely had a big premise over like the football games. There was a little promo where Venom was trying to start a rap career, and he even did a little stinger with Hot Ones where he was being interviewed with them. All kinds of weird creative marketing stuff here, and of course traditional ads I've been seeing all over the place. They've definitely been pushing this movie a lot, and once again, with this being the final film, I think that's going to push a lot of people's interest and curiosity. And if they're able to really nail this movie as the solid conclusion to this trilogy, I think we will see some very solid legs. This seems to be like the big movie to see right now, because, well, Joker hasn't really delivered, and it's going to be a while before some of the other big movies come out, like in mid-November or so. So that's all good, said and done, and there does seem to be buzz. But the other thing is that I'm not seeing as much buzz for this as I did for the other Venom movies. With those movies, there was just so much hype and anticipation for both of those movies. But here, people seem to be interested, but not as interested as those other films. But again, I've been wrong before. Maybe this one is the big surprise. Maybe this one exceeds all expectations. I'm not saying this movie's gonna flop. I'm not saying this is gonna be another Joker or Morbius, but I'm not sure if it's gonna reach the heights of the last movie, at least in terms of its opening. Hopefully it legs out. Hopefully it does well. But the buzz not being up there with the other movies definitely has me a bit cautious over its opening. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all those social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.